So now we are going to do a very, very important chapter, that is audit committee and corporate governance, right? So audit committee and corporate governance is a very, very important topic for your exams. And if you are from new syllabus, this topic is there in your law paper as well, right? If you are from new syllabus, this topic is there in your law paper as well. It is there in your audit paper as well. And if you are from old syllabus, then this topic is there only in your audit syllabus. In audit, we call the chapter as audit committee and corporate governance, and in law, we call the same chapter as SEBI loader regulations. Now, this chapter is very lengthy, comparatively a lengthy chapter, but at the same time very, very scoring. We are going to cover all the important areas. I am going to discuss 10 to 12 important questions with you, and we have a 90% probability that the questions will come from those 10 or 12 questions in the exam, right? I cannot give a guarantee, but a high probability that the questions are going to come from there. So we are going to do the most important questions, almost every important question we shall be covering over here. So talking about audit committee and corporate governance, that is SEBI loaded regulations. So the objective is that, that the listed companies, we know very well that if we talk about listed companies, their shares are listed on the stock exchange, more public money is involved, and that is why more risk is involved in those companies. And so that is why the government objective is to ensure better transparency for the public. And to ensure better transparency for the public, to ensure better checking in those companies, this SEBI loader regulations lays down various regulations. And the objective is to ensure better corporate governance. The objective is to ensure more transparency, and the objective is that there are less chances of undetected frauds in the organization. So that is the objective, right? So accordingly, there are some important regulations that the SEBI loader regulations has inserted in case of listed companies. So we are going through those important regulations. First is regarding the audit committee under loader regulations. So if we talk about audit company, I think every one of you is familiar with audit committee. You have already studied in the Companies Act, right? That audit committee kya hota hai? So if we talk about audit committee, recommendation of the appointment of auditor, it's the audit committee which recommends the appointment of auditors, recommends the name of the person. Audit committee approves the related party transactions. Audit committee approves all the kind of intercorporate loans, investments that is taking place. So powers of the audit committee, functions of the audit committee, all those we have discussed in section 177 of the Companies Act, right? So in addition to the requirement of section 177, SEBI loaded regulations kya kehta hai? That we are supposed to do it here. So what does the SEBI loaded regulation says? Every listed entity shall constitute a qualified and independent audit committee. The audit committee shall have minimum 3 directors as members, and 2/3 of the members of the committee shall be independent directors. So what does the SEBI loaded regulation says is that the audit committee shall have minimum 3 directors as members, and 2/3 of the members of audit committee shall be independent directors. Now, if you remember, in section 177 kya padha tha? In section 177 we have discussed that the audit committee shall have minimum 3 directors as members, and majority of the members of audit committee must be independent directors. So there we use the word majority. Here we are using the word 2/3. So this is more stringent. But do remember that section 177 was not only applicable to listed companies, it was also applicable to other public companies fulfilling the prescribed criteria. But SEBI loader regulation is applicable only to listed companies. So practically, if we talk about a listed company, then in that case, in case of listed companies, section 177 is also applicable and SEBI loader is also applicable. So the question arises that which of the regulation the listed companies are required to follow. So now think logically, if they fulfill the 2/3 requirement, the majority requirement is automatically being followed. So what happens is that whenever multiple regulations are being applicable, in that situation, the more stringent regulation is complied. Because by complying with the more stringent requirement, both the regulations are automatically complied. And that is what we call as the harmonious interpretation of law. So accordingly, listed company has to go by the SEBI loader regulations. So again and again, you are going to find conflicts between the SEBI loader regulations and Companies Act. But the logic I have given you once and for all. So the audit committee shall have minimum 3 directors as members, and 2/3 of the members of audit committee shall be independent directors. However, in case of a listed company having outstanding SR equity share, now this is a new concept, SR equity shares, that is added at various places in SEBI loader regulations, that is equity shares having superior voting rights. So however, in case of a listed entity having outstanding equity shares with superior voting rights, 2/3 of the committee shall comprise of independent directors, not making much of a difference. All members of the audit committee shall be financially literate, because if we talk about audit committee, so board of directors, in board of directors all the members are not qualified. It is not important for all the directors in the BOD to be qualified. But if we talk about the members of audit committee, they shall be financially literate. And when we talk about literacy, it does not mean that you should have a degree, you should have diploma, you should have falana education. It only means that you should have the basic ability to read and understand the financial statements. So all the members of audit committee shall be financially literate, and at least one member shall have the accounting or financial expertise. सबके सब ऐसे होने चाहिए that financial statement should not appear like something that they have never seen. They should able to perceive those financial statements, and at least one shall have the financial expertise. And what do you mean by financial expertise? Now, financial expertise does not mean that he should be a chartered accountant, he should be a CFA, he should have falana experience. ऐसा नहीं है. Financial expertise means he can either have that certification, for example, that chartered accountant CFA, or comparable experience. Either he has that certification in writing, or he has that comparable experience from the last 15 years, from the last 10 years, he has been managing the financial affairs of the company. So accordingly, when that is considered to be as financial expertise. The chairman of the audit committee shall be independent director. Now, when we are saying that 2/3 of the members of audit committee shall be independent, I think it is very much implied that the chairman shall also be independent and shall be present at the AGM to answer the queries of the shareholders, and the company secretary shall act as secretary of the committee. And the audit committee at its meetings, it's the discretion of the audit committee किसको invite करना है, किसको invite नहीं करना है. Please do remember, the audit committee at its discretion shall invite the finance director, or the head of finance function, head of internal audit, representatives of statutory auditor, and that is totally depending upon the option of the audit committee, recommendation of audit committee. The audit committee shall meet at least 4 times in a year. कितने बार मिलेगा साल में? 4 बार. And not more than 120 days shall lapse between 2 meetings. So again, this is something similar we have done in section 173 as well. The board is required to meet at least 4 times in a year. Not more than 120 days shall lapse between the 2 meetings. So the same requirement is there in case of audit committee as per SEBI loaded regulations. The quorum shall be either either 2 members or 1/3 of the members of audit committee, whichever is greater. The quorum shall be either 2 members or 1/3 of the members of audit committee, whichever is greater, but there shall be a minimum of 2 independent directors. Now this is important. Mark this as important. Minimum of 2 independent directors. Because on the one hand, you are saying that majority 2/3 of the directors, members in the audit committee must be independent. And just think, when the audit committee sits for a meeting, independent directors are absent. So practically the logic is itself defeated. So that is why what they are saying is that in the quorum requirements, at least 2 independent directors must always be present in the meetings of the audit committee. So if I am the examiner, I will try to make a question on this very scenario. After that, the next important regulation that we are going to say is obligations of directors and senior management as per SEBI loaded regulations. What are the obligations of directors and senior management as per SEBI loaded regulations? So regulation 17, 25, 26, at various places we see various obligations of directors and senior management which we have combined here. Right. So just think differently. Obligation of director, obligation of senior management. Think differently. Board का obligation क्या होगा? As an individual director, उसका obligation क्या होगा? Think differently. It will be easy for you to remember. So first of all, we are talking about board. Then we'll be talking about the individual director. So the obligation for board. The board shall meet at least 4 times a year, and the maximum time gap of 120 days between 2 meetings. I think you know that already. The board shall periodically review the compliance reports, that is the compliance of laws and regulations. Senior management shall make disclosures to the board relating all the material, financial and commercial transactions. एक तरीके से डायरेक्टर वाले कैटेगरी में भी आ सकता है. And the board shall make proper planning for ordinary succession of appointment. That suppose now if Mr. Ratan Tata is the chairman, after Ratan Tata, who is going to be the chairman? Just taking an example. So there should be a proper planning for the ordinary succession of appointment. So this was regarding board. If we think from the angle of board, that is the board shall meet at least 4 times in a year with a maximum time gap of 120 days. The board shall periodically review the compliance reports and proper planning for ordinary succession of appointment. If we think from the angle of director, So what it is given is that all the non-executive directors, they should disclose their shareholding prior to their appointment, because non-executive directors means normally the independent directors, right, who are not the full-time employees. So they should disclose their shareholding. Maybe suppose if they already have shareholdings in the company, the members will not appoint them. Might be. Similarly, the senior management shall make proper disclosures to the board. Suppose whenever a meeting is taking place, then the senior management should make proper disclosure to the board कि भैया in this very company I have a financial interest, so that उनको पता रहे कि okay, in this very company the फलाना director, the senior management has so and so interest. And the most important point, a director shall not be a member in more than 10 committees or act as a chairman in more than 5 committees. A director shall not be a member in more than 10 committees or act as a chairman in more than 5 committees across all listed entities in which is a director. So this is important. A director shall not be a member in more than 10 committees or act as a chairman in more than 5 committees. And as an auditor, what is the auditor's obligation? That also I have mentioned in bracket. For example, to verify the number of meetings taken place, the auditor can verify the same from the minutes book. To check whether the director is not a member in more than 10 committees or a chairman in more than 5 committees, he can obtain a declaration from the director regarding the same. To ensure that the board has periodically reviewed the compliance report, the auditor shall consider Asset 250. The next regulation, mark it very, very important for your exam, subsidiary of listed entity. Subsidiary of listed entity. Now, this is regulation 24. Although normally I don't advise you to learn the regulation numbers, but for the purpose of this very regulation, I will advise you that learn this regulation number, regulation 24, subsidiary of listed entity. Right. Now, before starting with this regulation, we have to know one important definition. What is a material subsidiary? क्या याद रखना है आपको? What is a material subsidiary? So, if I talk about what is a material subsidiary, any subsidiary, you know, वो subsidiary इतना material है that out of the total consolidated net worth of the company, 20% of the consolidated net worth belongs to the subsidiary. Or 20% of the income, consolidated income, is generated from that subsidiary. So if a company has a total income of 100 CR, that subsidiary itself generates income of more than 20 CR. If a company has a total net worth of more than 100 crores, that subsidiary itself generates income of more than 20 CR. That is what we call a material subsidiary. Now, do remember one very important thing. Regulation 16 talks about the general definition of material subsidiary, and in Regulation 16 there is amendment. Regulation 16 में एक amendment है, वो जो 20% उसको 10% कर दिया. So Regulation 16 says that material subsidiary means a subsidiary which is constituting more than 10% of the income or 10% of the net worth. So that 20% has become 10% for the purpose of Regulation 16. But if I talk about Regulation 24, they have mentioned that notwithstanding anything contained in Regulation 16, material subsidiary means a subsidiary. Material subsidiary means a subsidiary that exceeds 20% of consolidated net worth or 20% of consolidated income. So for the purpose of Regulation 24, the percentage is still 20. Even I was confused in this. Even I got confused in this, and actually I changed the notes. I made it from 20 to 10. But this will be 20%. But do remember, only for the purpose of this clause, this will be 20%. Please make a correction in the notes as well. For the purpose of gender discussion, material subsidiary means वो subsidiary जो 10% of net worth constitute करता है, 10% of income constitute करता है. But for the purpose of Regulation 24, it is still 20%. So be very, very careful. That is what we call a material subsidiary. Now that material subsidiary may be a listed subsidiary, it may be unlisted subsidiaries, though that is a different thing. Now, there are various regulations in the subsidiary of listed entity, Regulation 24. I am discussing the most important regulations with you. Most important. That is the last two clauses. Very, very important for your exam. A listed entity shall not dispose of the shares in its material subsidiary. क्या बोला है? A listed entity shall not dispose the shares in its material subsidiary without passing a special resolution, or under a scheme of compromise arrangement, or under a scheme of insolvency and bankruptcy code. ध्यान से सुनना. A listed company shall not dispose its shares. A listed company shall not dispose its share except without passing a special resolution or under a scheme of operation mismanagement or under a resolution plan that is approved under the IBC code. अगर उस डिस्पोजल की वजह से इतना इंपैक्ट आने वाला है दैट डिस्पोजल ऑफ शेयर इज गोइंग टू क्रिएट सच ए मेटल इंपैक्ट दैट द शेयर होल्डिंग ऑफ द मेटल सब्सिडरी विल सीज टू बी लेस देन 50%. अल्टीमेटली सब्सिडरी का डेफिनेशन क्या होता है दैट यू आर हैविंग मोर देन 50% कंट्रोल. बट बिकॉज ऑफ द डिस्पोजल ऑफ शेयर्स the shareholding is going to get reduced below the 50%. So that is a major disposal, right? Disposal इतना ज्यादा हो गया कि because of that the shareholding is going to come to less than 50%. C is less than 50%. So that is a major disposal. So for such major disposal, either special resolution must be passed, or it must be done under a scheme of compromise arrangement, that is relief provided by the tribunal, or that must be done as a part of a resolution plan under the insolvency bankruptcy code. So this is one of the important points as regard to this very regulation. The next point, similarly बोला गया है that if the company is selling, disposing or leasing of the assets of its material subsidiary, if the company is selling, disposing and leasing of the assets of the metal subsidiary amounting to more than 20% of the assets of metal subsidiary. First of all, it is clear what is a metal subsidiary. Now let us say metal subsidiary has a total assets of 100 crore, 20 crore से ज्यादा का asset sale कर दिया, it has been sold or disposed or given on lease amounting to more than 20% during the financial year. So in that situation, either special resolution must be passed, or that must be done under a scheme of compromise arrangement, or that must be as a part of duly approved resolution under the insolvency bankruptcy code, right? That sentence is not given in this very clause, but please insert it here itself, here also. That is all under a resolution approved under the insolvency bankruptcy code. एक resolution plan बनाया प्रोफेशनल ने इन द आईबीसी कोड, एंड एज ए पार्ट ऑफ द resolution it is suggested that okay, metal subsidiary का शेयर डिस्पोज ऑफ करना पड़ेगा, या more than 20% of the assets we have to sell. So in that situation we don't need to pass SR. Under a scheme of compromise arrangement, that it is decided that we have to dispose of the shares of the metal subsidiary or more than 20% of the assets, then SR is not to be passed. But otherwise, if these limits are exceeding, SR is to be passed. I hope it is clear, right? So a listed company shall not dispose of share in the metal subsidiary resulting in reduction of shareholding to less than 50% or cease the exercise of control over the subsidiary without passing SR in its general meeting. But exception क्या है? That is under the scheme of divestment, a scheme of compromise arrangement or resolution plan approved by the IBC. And similarly, selling, disposing or leasing of assets more than 20% of the assets of the metal subsidiary on aggregate basis during the financial year. So please mark the words on aggregate basis during the financial year. थोड़ा dispose करेंगे, then also the aggregate will be same. So these two are the important regulations. बाकी easy है. At least one independent director on the board of director of listed entity shall be a director on the board of director of the unlisted metal subsidiary, incorporated in India or not. So this was the addition recently. At least one independent director on the board of director of the listed entity shall be a director on the board of director of unlisted metal subsidiary, whether that is incorporated in India or whether that is incorporated outside India. If you have some of the old notes, you might see that it is written incorporated in India. So all note is a recent insertion. The audit committee of the listed entity shall also review the financial statements, the investments of the unlisted subsidiary, because the listed entity will have the audit committee, the unlisted subsidiary will not have the audit committee. So that is why the listed entity audit committee will review the financial statements and the investments of the unlisted subsidiary. Then we have a regulation of code of conduct. Very small regulation, simple regulation, but the question may come. Right? Code of conduct. You know what is code of conduct? जैसे कि we study the code of conduct for the chartered accountants. We have a separate chapter for it, the code of ethics. Similarly, SEBI order regulation says that the board of directors should prepare code of conduct for all the board members. Some code of conduct, for example, you will not be sharing the confidential information of the entity. Your behavior in the organization must be so and so. You must comply with the following duties. You have the following rights. So all those code of conduct must be fixed. So what the regulation says is that the board shall lay a proper code of conduct for all the board members and senior management of the listed entity. Code of conduct बनाना होगा. सिर्फ बनाने से होगा या communicate भी करना पड़ेगा? Communicate भी करना पड़ेगा. So code of conduct must be communicated to the directors. कैसे communicate करेंगे? By posting on the website of the company. So code of conduct framed, posted on the website. Is that enough? No. All the board members and the senior management personnel shall affirm with the code of conduct. उनको code of conduct comply करना पड़ेगा. So the board shall lay down a code of conduct for all the board members and senior management, right? And then code of conduct shall be posted on the website. The board shall affirm the compliance of the code of conduct, and this code of conduct shall also incorporate the duties of independent director. So these are the points that you have to remember. After that, another important topic, management discussion and analysis report as per SEBI loader regulations. Management discussion and analysis report as per SEBI loader regulations. So what is this management discussion and analysis report? From time to time, the management is required to meet and they have to discuss the important things, right? So this report contains that what was being discussed with regard to important matters. It is a part of director's report and this forms a part of annual report as well. It is a part of director's report and at the same time it forms a part of the annual report as well. And the management discussion and analysis report contains the discussions किस बारे में हुआ था. For example, when the board of directors must have met, then क्या डिस्कस किया होगा उन्होंने, जब ऑडिट कमेटी मिली होगी क्या डिस्कस किया होगा. They must have discussed about the financial performance of the entity. They must have discussed about the internal controls of the entity, how good the control system is. So I think these two are very preliminary points you can correlate: financial performance, internal controls. Then क्या डिस्कशन होता है अपने ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज के बारे में, कौन कैसा काम कर रहा है, किसको प्रमोशन देना है, किसको नहीं देना है. सो ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज के बारे में डिस्कशन होता है, राइट? खुद के फाइनेंशियल परफॉर्मेंस के बारे में, इंटरनल कंट्रोल सिस्टम के बारे में. देन वी डिस्कस आवर स्वॉट एनालिसिस, our strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, what are the risk factors we have, what are the opportunities, क्या कैसे मार्केट को कैपिटलाइज कर सकते हैं, हमारा फ्यूचर आउटलुक क्या है, इंडस्ट्री में क्या हो रहा है, कॉम्पिटिटर्स क्या कर रहे हैं, अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्या है, थ्रेट्स क्या क्या है. आई थिंक इट इज लॉजिकल. So all those points are given. That the management discussion and analysis report should contain the discussion regarding discussion with respect to financial performance, with respect to operational performance, internal control system and their adequacy, ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज, इंडस्ट्री में क्या हो रहा है, इंडस्ट्री स्ट्रक्चर एंड डेवलपमेंट्स, अपॉर्चुनिटीज एंड थ्रेट्स, सेगमेंट वाइज परफॉर्मेंस, इफ दे हैव डिफरेंट सेगमेंट्स हाउ आर दे परफॉर्मिंग, इफ दे हैव 50 प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च इन द मार्केट, हाउ आर द प्रोडक्ट्स परफॉर्मिंग, प्रोडक्ट वाइज परफॉर्मेंस, फ्यूचर आउटलुक, रिस्क एंड कंसर्न. सो इट इज सिंपल. Another regulation, information to shareholders. What does this regulation say is, whenever a new director is appointed in the company or a director is reappointed in the company, we know very well that who is empowered to appoint the directors? The shareholders. The shareholders of the company has to appoint the director by passing the ordinary resolution in the general meeting. So now, before appointing the director, the member should get some basic information, with the help of which he can decide that whether he wants to appoint the director or not. That is the brief resume of the director, the nature of expertise of the director. It should be disclosed whether the director has any prior shareholding. It should also be disclosed to the members the names of all the listed companies in which is also a director. For example, Mr. Sanidhya Saraf is being proposed to be appointed as a director in Reliance India, and Sanidhya Saraf is also a director in 5 companies. It's not bad to dream about it, है ना? So Sanidhya Saraf is also a director in 5 companies. So it should be disclosed to the members that okay, Sanidhya Saraf is already a director in these 5 companies. He already have this much of shareholding. Brief resume about Sanidhya Saraf. Nature of expertise, that okay, Sanidhya Saraf is an expert in audit and law in company related matters. So all those must be disclosed. So again, this is very, very simple. The next important regulation that we have is compliance certificate. It is also called as the CEO CFO certification. That is the compliance certificate. That is the CEO CFO certification. So what happens is that we know very well that it is the management of the company who is responsible for ensuring that the financial statements are made as per the FRF and the internal control system is designed properly. But at the same time, we want them to accept their responsibilities. Especially when we talk about the management, when we talk about the board, the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Financial Officer of the company are the ones who are actually responsible for this financial statements and internal control system part. And so that is why we are asking them to accept their responsibilities. So under CEO CFO certification, what happens is that the CEO and CFO certifies to the board that they have reviewed the financial statements. It was their responsibility to review the financial statements. They have reviewed the financial statements. They have reviewed the cash flow statement, and that is not misleading. That is true and fair, right? What they are disclosing, what they are certifying is that, to the best of our information and explanation, to the best of our knowledge and belief, no fraudulent transactions, no illegal transactions have been entered during the year. The code of ethics that has been formulated by the company is being properly followed. We are taking responsibility for the formulation of internal control system, and the internal control system has been designed in a proper manner. Right. So that responsibility they are undertaking. They are certifying that we have reviewed the financial statement. It is true and fair. No fraudulent transaction, no illegal transaction has been entered during the year. We are taking responsibility for establishing and maintaining internal control system. And we have evaluated the effectiveness of internal control system. And if there are any changes in internal control system over the financial reporting, if there are any significant changes in internal control over the financial reporting, we have indicated about the same to the auditors. If there are any major changes in accounting policies, if there are any significant frauds in the organization that has come to our notice, then we have informed about the same to the auditors and the audit committee. So that certification the CEO and the CFO of the organization is giving to the board. So again, you have to learn, but I think it's a logical thing. You can easily learn. Now we have different committees. We have different committees apart from audit committee. Like we have nomination remuneration committee, we have stakeholder relationship committee, we have risk management committee. You also discuss in the Companies Act. The most important one is risk management committee, something we don't discuss in Companies Act, only a part of SEBI order. So what is nomination remuneration committee basically? You know very well that nomination remuneration committee is to fix the remuneration. They fix the remuneration. They decide the remuneration of the directors. They fix the policy for the remuneration. They decide that, they recommend who is to be nominated, who is to be appointed. They formulate the remuneration. They formulate the model of remuneration. Stakeholder relationship committee means that if any of the shareholder, any of the debenture holder, any of the security holder is facing any grievances, their work is to resolve those grievances. That is the purpose of stakeholder relationship committee, right? And risk management committee is for major risk in the organization. So we know very well that section 177 में हमने पढ़ा है the class of companies that are required to constitute audit committee, nomination remuneration committee, stakeholder relationship committee, right? Here what we have to remember, for the purpose of SEBI order, minimum 3 directors, all of whom should be non-executive directors. Minimum 3 directors होने चाहिए NRC में. All must be non-executive directors. At least 50% must be independent director. So in audit committee, it was 2/3 must be independent director. In NRC, 50% must be independent director. And that SR equity wala share wala point is here also. That however, in case of listed entities having outstanding SR equity shares, 2/3 of the committee shall have independent directors. The chairman should be independent director. The quorum for the NRC, that should be 2 members or 1/3 of the members of the committee, whichever is greater, including at least 1 independent director. So when we talk about the quorum of audit committee, at least 2 independent directors must be present. And when we talk about the quorum of NRC, at least 1 independent director must be present. There minimum 3 directors, out of which 2/3 must be independent. In NRC, at least 50% must be independent. So here this amendment has a sense as well, that however in case of listed entity having outstanding SR equity share, 2/3 of the committee shall comprise of independent director. And the NRC is required to meet at least once in a year. साल में एक बार मिलना होगा. Audit committee को साल में 4 बार मिलना होता है. इनको साल में एक बार मिलना होगा. Stakeholder relationship committee. We know the purpose of stakeholder relationship committee to resolve the grievances of stakeholders. Again, the committee, the chairperson of this committee should be a non-executive director. The board of directors shall decide other members of the committee. The committee is formed to consider and resolve the grievances of security holders. This committee should have at least 3 directors. With at least 1 independent director. यहाँ भी क्या बोले at least 3 director, 1 independent director. And however, in case of listed company having outstanding SR equity share, 2/3 of the committee shall comprise of independent director. Means can I say that in case of every listed company having outstanding SR equity share, 2/3 of the committee, चाहे वो stakeholder relationship हो या फिर nomination remuneration या फिर audit committee, they shall be independent director. So it's common for all the categories of committees if it is a listed company having outstanding SR equity share. The chairperson of the stakeholder relationship shall be present at the AGM to answer the queries of the stakeholders, and the stakeholder relationship committee shall meet at least once in a year. जो stakeholder relationship committee होगा ये भी साल में एक बार मिलेगा. तो stakeholder relationship committee once in a year. Then we have risk management committee once in a year. We have nomination remuneration committee once in a year. We have audit committee 4 times in a year. Risk management committee. तो अगेन रिस्क मैनेजमेंट कमेटी के केस में द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर इज द प्रोविजन ऑफ रिस्क मैनेजमेंट कमेटी, द प्रोविजन ऑफ दिस रेगुलेशन, दिस इज एप्लीकेबल ओनली टू द top 500 listed entities of this country. If we talk about NRC, it is applicable to a quite large number of companies in India. If I talk about stakeholder relationship, applicable to a quite large number of companies in India, similarly about audit committee. But if we talk about risk management committee, the provisions of this regulations shall be applicable to the top 500 listed entities. determined on the basis of market capitalization as at the end of the immediately previous financial year. And this committee shall meet at least once in a year. So these are the different committees. Again, question can come from this. Then another important area from where the question can be asked, adverse or qualified statement. When the auditor is required to give a adverse or qualified statement in respect of the requirements of corporate governance under this chapter. So practically, if we talk about in the standards also, when we give a qualified adverse statement, when there is a non-compliance. Similarly, when the adverse or qualified statement will be given when there is a non-compliance, when the requirements are not being complied. For example, there was a requirement to set up a qualified and independent audit committee. If that committee is not set up, adverse or qualified report must be given. Chairman of the audit committee must be independent director. If that requirement is not complied with, adverse or qualified statement must be given. Audit committee is required to meet at least 4 times in a year. If that requirement is not being complied with, again qualified adverse report must be given. The time gap between 2 board meetings is more than one, should be, not be more than 120 days. If that time gap is more than 120 days, again adverse or qualified statement must be given. We have learned that a director should not be a member in more than 10 committees and chairman of more than 5 committees. So if that contravention is there, again qualified adverse report must be given. So very, very simple. You can easily correlate it and you can easily learn. The next important question, review of information by audit committee. Review of information by audit committee. The audit committee is required to mandatorily review the sum of the information as per SEBI audit regulation. उनको कुछ चीजें मैंडेटरीली रिव्यू करना होता है अपने मीटिंग्स के अंदर. क्या रिव्यू करना होता है? डू रिमेंबर मैनेजमेंट डिस्कशन एनालिसिस रिपोर्ट. सो दैट मैनेजमेंट डिस्कशन एंड एनालिसिस रिपोर्ट इज समथिंग दे हैव टू मैंडेटरीली रिव्यू. Right. Then we have a statement of related party transaction that they have to mandatorily review. If you remember the letter of weakness, SA 265, that letter of internal control weakness that they have to mandatorily review. Internal auditors report they are required to mandatorily review. Think logically. One of the function of audit committee is to approve the related party transaction. Another function of the audit committee is to see whether the internal control is effective. To approve related party transaction, they have to see all the statement of related parties. Again, to check out whether the internal control system is effective, they will see the internal auditor's report. They will see the letter of weaknesses. Right. So audit committee shall mandatorily review management discussion analysis report. They shall mandatorily review statement of significant related party transaction. Then we have 3 points regarding the internal controls. That is, they shall mandatorily review the letter of internal control weaknesses, internal audit reports relating to internal control weaknesses, appointment terms and remuneration of chief internal auditor, and the statement of deviations. Statement of deviations क्या होता है? Again, statement of deviation is a statement जिसके अंदर, for example, the money that was raised for the IPO purpose, that money has been utilized in some other purpose. So that deviation, वो पैसा कहाँ लगा? For what purpose it was raised and where it is actually utilized. That deviation is reported in statement of deviation and that is to be furnished to the stock exchanges. So उसके बारे में भी, उस statement of deviation को भी audit committee has to review. The audit committee is also required to review the statement of deviation. So again, these are the 6 things that the audit committee has to review. These are the 6 things that the audit committee has to review. Right. Now, basically what we are going to do is, we are going to do some of the amendments part. Some amendments that came before some attempts and some amendments that has come very recently, but all we are going to do the amendment part. All the amendments that has come in the last 1 year, right? You know that there is a requirement to appoint 1 woman director, 1 independent director, all that we have discussed in Companies Act. Requirement to appoint woman director, requirement to appoint independent director. But you know, SEBI order lays down a requirement on the top listed entities of the country to appoint 1 independent woman director. Independent woman director. In Companies Act, we have learned the requirement of appointing a woman director. She may be independent, she may not be independent. But SEBI order imposes a regulation that the top companies of the globe, the top companies of the country, the top companies of the country, the top listed entities, they are required to appoint 1 independent woman director. Top 500 listed entities shall have 1 independent woman director by April 1, 2019. And the top 1000 listed entities shall have 1 independent woman director by April 1, 2020. Right. So that is one of the change, one of the new addition. Similarly, if you remember, there was a requirement In case of section 149, to appoint minimum 2 directors in case of private company, 3 directors in case of public company. याद है? See, I have drawn a diagram. Section 149 read with SEBI loader. Unlisted plus listed company, the requirement in general was 2 companies in case of private, 2 directors in case of private, 3 in case of public. Listed company के case में, now SEBI loader says the requirement is 6. They have to appoint at least 6 independent directors. Now this requirement to appoint at least 6 directors, not independent, sorry. This requirement to appoint at least 6 directors is applicable for the top 1000 listed entities with effect from 1/4/2019, and it is applicable for the top 2000 listed entities with effect from 1st of April 2020. So again you have to memorize, but something very important. Section 149 read with SEBI loader. Right, as per section 149, they have to appoint at least 2 directors in case of private companies, 3 in case of public company, and as per the SEBI loader, at least 6 directors. With effect from 1/4/2019, this requirement is applicable to the top 1000 listed entities, and with effect from 1st of April 2020, this requirement is applicable to the top 2000 listed entities. Similarly, requirement to appoint 1 woman director. Section 149 says that every listed company and the other companies that are being specified, they are required to appoint 1 woman director, but no requirement to be independent. But SEBI loader says that requirement of woman director to be independent. With respect to 1/4/2019, the requirement is applicable to the top 500 listed entities, and with respect to 1/4/2020, this requirement is applicable to the top 1000 listed entities. Similarly, maximum number of directorship. If you remember, maximum number of directorship, section 165 says 20. You can be a director in maximum 20 companies, but SEBI loader makes it more stringent. So कम कर दिया. बोला with effect from 1/4/2019, if you are a director of the listed company, you can be a director in maximum 8 companies. And with effect from 1/4/2020 और भी कम कर दिया. You can be a director in maximum 7 companies. So 165 में 20 था. As per SEBI loader, the limit is reduced to 8 with effect from 1/4/2019 and 7 with effect from 1/4/2020. So these are some of the important changes. You can just pause the video and you can note it down. Similarly, there is a point that is inserted. There are more changes, there are more points, but I have discussed the ones which are most important and which has a good interlinking. The remaining you can just memorize, but this has a good interlinking, so that is why I have discussed this with you. In case of a listed company having outstanding SR equity share, the auditor shall check that at least half of the board of directors comprises of independent director. So अगर कोई listed entity है जिसका outstanding SR equity share है, तो what will happen is that half of the board of directors shall also comprise of independent directors. So now becomes very interesting. If the listed company has outstanding SR equity share, half of the board of directors comprises of independent director, 2/3 of each of the committees comprises of independent director. That is the fact in real sense, right? A person shall not serve as an independent director in more than 7 listed entities. This is also very important. A person shall not serve as independent directors in more than 7 listed entities. आप मैक्सिमम कितने कंपनीज में इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर बन सकते हो? 7 लिस्टेड एंटिटीज में आप मैक्सिमम क्या बन सकते हो? इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर बन सकते हो. So this is one of the important part with respect to the composition of BOD. Then approval of remuneration of directors. Approval of remuneration of directors. If you remember section 197, there was a restriction with regard to the overall remuneration, 11%, 1%, 3%, 5%, 10%. Right. But in addition to that, SEBI loader regulation imposes certain restrictions with regard to remuneration of directors. What they say is that with effect from 1/4/2019, approval of shareholders by special resolution shall be obtained every year in case the annual remuneration payable to a single non-executive director exceeds 50% of the total annual remuneration payable to all non-executive directors. You have 5 non-executive directors and the total annual remuneration payable to all the 5 non-executive directors is 1 CR. But supposingly to one non-executive director you are paying more than 50 lakh rupees and to the remaining 4 non-executive directors you are paying less than 50 lakh rupees. So that creates a big discrimination. So approval of shareholders by special resolution shall be passed every year. Apart from that, the fees or compensation payable to executive directors who are promoters or members of the promoter group shall be subject to the approval of the shareholders by special resolution in general meeting if the annual remuneration payable to such executive director, तो executive director की बात हो रही है, अगर जो उसको annual remuneration पे किया जा रहा है that exceeds rupees 5 crores or 2.5% of the net profits of the listed entity whichever is higher. If that is exceeding rupees 5 crore or 2.5% of the net profits of the listed entity whichever is higher. For example, the net profit of the listed entity is 100 CR, then 2.5% of the net profits is 2.5 CR. So if the annual remuneration payable to such executive director exceeds 5 CR or 2.5 CR whichever is higher, that is 5 CR, then in that case SR is needed. Suppose if the turnover, net profit of the listed entity is 1000 CR. So in that case, the annual remuneration 2.5% becomes 25 CR. So 5 crore or 25 CR, whichever is higher. So if annual remuneration payable to such executive director exceeds 25 CR, again SR must be passed in the general meeting. Where there is more than one such director, the aggregate annual remuneration to such director exceeds 5% of the net profits of the listed entity, right? So if there is more than one such director, more than one executive director, एक से ज्यादा अंबानी है कंपनी में, aggregate annual remuneration अगर exceed कर रहा है 5% of net profits of listed entity, let us say one of the executive director is Mukesh Ambani, another executive director is Nita Ambani, the total net profits of the listed entity, the Reliance is 1000 CR, so 1000 CR का 5% 50 CR. If aggregate annual remuneration to both the directors is exceeding 50 CR, again SR must be passed every year in the general meeting. And the profit shall be calculated for this purpose as per section 198. So again, this is something that you have to memorize. Right. For the quorum requirement, again, you have to remember something. Obligations with respect to employees including senior management, KMPs, directors and promoters. The board shall meet at least 4 times a year with a maximum time gap of 120 days between 2 meetings. This we have done. The quorum for every meeting of the board of directors of the top 1000 listed entities with effect from April 1, 2019 and of the top 2000 listed entities with effect from April 1, 2020 shall be 1/3 of the total strength or 3 directors whichever is higher, including 1 independent director. So again, the quorum requirement has been made more stringent. What they say is the quorum requirement shall be 1/3 of total strength or 3 directors whichever is higher and including 1 independent director. So even in the board meetings, they have laid down this requirement of at least 1 independent director, and this will be applicable for top 1000 listed entities with effect from April 1, 2019 and top 2000 listed entities with effect from April 1, 2020. And this top 500, top 1000, top 1500, top 2000, these are always to be seen depending on the market capitalization at the end of the immediately previous financial year, where it is to be seen at the end of the immediate previous financial year, right? Now, one more amendment that you need to know. For that, I'll be taking you to the RTP. RTP May 2020. That one amendment that has recently come in RTP May 2020 in this chapter. Rather, what I've done is that, I have made a chart for you. So now, you just refer this chart. I have incorporated the amendments of the RTP in a nutshell in this chart. This is about, suppose we are talking about listed entities plus its material subsidiaries. Please incorporate the chart in the copy simultaneously. We are talking about listed entities plus its material subsidiaries, right? Suppose the auditor resigns. Within 45 days from the end of first quarter. Suppose the auditor resigns within 45 days from the end of first quarter. When the first quarter will end? 30th June, April to June, then July to September, then October to December, and then January to March. That is how the quarters will go. So when we talk about the end of first quarter, that has to be 30th of June. So if the auditor is resigning within 45 days from the end of first quarter, what the lawmaker says is that, okay, you may resign, but the thing is that before resignation, at least you have to issue the limited review / the audit report for the first quarter, because already the first quarter has ended, right? Already the first quarter has ended. So at least you release the report for the first quarter, because it is very difficult for someone new to come in and release that report. So if you have resigned within 45 days from the end of first quarter, that is within 45 days from 30th June. issue the limited review report oblique the audit report for the first quarter. But if you have resigned after 45 days from the end of first quarter, after 45 days, बहुत delay कर दी है. Now you also has to release the limited review oblique the audit review report for the second quarter as well. Not only the first quarter, but for the second quarter as well. You have to release that report as well. So if you are resigning within 45 days from the end of first quarter, then issue the limited review oblique the audit report for the first quarter. But if you are resigning after 45 days from the end of first quarter, then you have to issue the limited review oblique the audit report for the first as well as the second quarter. And the third case is that, let us say the auditor has already signed the report for the first 3 quarters, first 2 and 3 quarters, first 3 quarters. And he is resigning after signing the report for the first 3 quarters. So bhaiya, when you have signed the report for the first 3 quarters, it is very difficult for the new auditor to come in and sign the report for the 4th quarter and release the audit report for that financial year, because he has to conduct all that examination once again. So what they are saying is that if you have already signed the report for the first 3 quarters, then before resigning, you not only have to issue the report for the 4th quarter as well. You have to release the report for the 4th quarter as well, but also you have to release the audit report for the relevant financial year. Why this provision is inserted? Because auditors used to resign, and they used to resign and go without releasing the report. And it used to be very difficult when the new auditors will be appointed, when the report will be released, and companies were caught in non-compliances. So that is why this provision has been inserted, right? That is why this provision has been inserted. That in case of listed entities and its material subsidiaries, if the auditor is resigning within 45 days from the end of first quarter, that is from 30th June, then the auditor has to issue the limited review oblique the audit report for the first quarter. If he is resigning after 45 days from the end of first quarter, then he is responsible for issuing the limited review oblique audit report not only for the first quarter, but also for the second quarter. And if he has already signed his report for the first 3 quarters and then is resigning, then what he has to do is, he also has to release the report for the 4th quarter plus the audit report for the financial year as well. And during this process, one problem may be there, that since the auditor has told that I am resigning, management might not cooperate with the auditor. Management might not provide the information to the auditor. So this regulation also inserts a requirement upon the management that you also have to cooperate with the auditor, and you also have to provide relevant information in such respect to the auditor. So that is the obligation upon the management as well, right? So I believe it is clear. This is the requirement of a new circular that is released by SEBI in SEBI loader regulation, right? So when we are talking about resignation of auditor, the SEBI loader imposes certain reporting responsibilities. I think the logic is very, very clear that कब कौन से क्वार्टर का रिपोर्ट्स आपने रिलीज करना है before resignation, right? Apart from that, if you remember, section 140 subsection 2 imposes a obligation upon the auditor that if he is resigning, he has to inform about the resignation and the reason to the ROC and the board of director, right? So that was in section 140 subsection 2. Now, SEBI loader regulation also imposes certain requirement. What the SEBI loader regulation says is that suppose the auditor is resigning because of non-cooperation. Suppose the auditor is resigning because of non-cooperation, कि management cooperate नहीं कर रहा, information नहीं दे रहा, then such a serious issue, the auditor is not required to wait for the audit committee meetings. The normal situation is that the auditor will wait for the audit committee meetings and he will tell the audit committee what the problems he are facing. But if the matter is a serious one and he is thinking to resign because of that the management is non-cooperating, then in that situation, the auditor is not required to wait for the audit committee meetings. What he can do is, he shall straightforward report to the chairman of audit committee without waiting for the meetings of audit committee. So if he is resigning because of non-cooperation from the management, it's a serious issue of concern. In that situation, he should not wait for the meetings of audit committee and report to the chairman of audit committee, and should submit all the documents and specify the reason to the audit committee why he has to resign, right? So section 140 and SEBI loader has to be read together. In case of listed company, not only the auditor has to communicate about his resignation, but to the ROC and the board of directors as per 140 subsection 2. But at the same time, if he is resigning because of non-cooperation from the management, he don't have to wait for audit committee meetings, and he will report about the matter to the chairman of the audit committee. Now, audit committee is going to deliberate the matter and communicate its view to the management and the auditor. Audit committee क्या करेगा? The audit committee shall deliberate the matter and communicate its view to the auditors and management. And when the management has got the matter communicated from the audit committee, then the management is required to inform about the same in 24 hours to the stock exchange. जैसे ही मैनेजमेंट को पता चलेगा, फर्दर देयर इज ऑब्लिगेशन ऑन मैनेजमेंट दैट मैनेजमेंट हैज टू इन्फॉर्म इन 24 आवर्स टू द स्टॉक एक्सचेंज. सो दिस साइकिल गोज ऑन. Right. If the reason of resignation is non-cooperation, he has to inform the audit committee, chairman of audit committee. Audit committee will deliberate, will communicate its views to the management. Management will inform in 24 hours to the stock exchange. So this is the entire requirement of the circular. And do remember one more point. The requirements of the circular shall not be applicable. The requirement of the circular shall not be applicable if the auditor is disqualified under section 141. We have to understand that these requirements are applicable only when the auditor is resigning. These requirements are not applicable when he is disqualified. Disqualified हो गया तो उसको जबरदस्ती नहीं बोलेंगे नहीं भैया release the report for the next quarter. This requirement of circular are applicable only if the auditor has submitted his resignation and not when he has disqualified under section 141. So that is again something you have to remember because might come in the case study thing. This might come in the case study thing. So again, this chapter is very, very important. We have done with most of the parts of the chapter. 90% of the chances are that the question will come from the areas we have discussed. Right, from the areas we have discussed. One more thing you refer is that in the first page I have given some quarterly compliances that the listed entity shall file with the recognized stock exchanges the following on quarterly basis. So this can come in MCQ. For example, every listed entity is supposed to furnish to the recognized stock exchange on a quarterly basis the number of investors complaints received, complaints disposed of, complaints which are not yet disposed of. Similarly, compliance report on corporate governance, the listed entity has to submit within 15 days from the end of quarter. So this can come in MCQ form. So this is something you need to remember. Issues regarding corporate governance. If the question comes issues regarding corporate governance, do remember this is nothing but the snapshot of the entire chapter. Whatever we have discussed in the entire chapter, this is just the snapshot of that. For example, code of conduct, meetings of committees kaisa hoga, what will be the procedure regarding the risk management, what will be the content of management discussion and analysis, what information must be given to the shareholders, what will come in CEO, CFO certification, so all of this. Right. So again, the chapter is a bit technical. I will strictly advise you to see this class at least 2 times. I will strictly advise you to see this class at least 2 times and thereafter you start your own revision. Then the concepts will become more clear for you. But this chapter is going to give you a sure short marks in examinations, right? So we are not going to ignore this chapter and going to do it nicely.